Hi, Francis. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Colin. Hi, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, this topic, Francis, that we're, joining around the joy of giving. I feel like probably to start, like it's kind of like I'm thinking of what Jesus tells us in A Course in Miracles is that, he basically says there's just the two thought systems, or the one that perhaps we're most until there's been a lot of healing and training, the one that we're most aligned with is we could say it the egoic thought system, or like a thought system of lack, of trying to get, really, kind of like the opposite, really, of giving. And yet I feel like so much of the training is really about becoming aware of that thought system, but being willing to release it, and being open to another whole other thought system, which is totally about giving, and about giving joyfully, and the joy of giving, which is our title for today. So I feel like just the title itself is a great one for like actually really looking directly, even at the apparent split, because giving is not something that, like, almost like the personality self doesn't. I know for myself, sometimes it can feel like this contraction sometimes around the idea of giving, that I'm going to lose. So, just thought opening with that type of idea to start with, Francis.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Colin. I was just started the day this morning by reviewing the workbook lesson for the day. And today is the lesson today is lesson 70. My salvation comes from myself. And that is a really, really radical idea if we think about it, because in that lesson, Jesus actually says, if you really believe this, and you really go toward yourself in your mind to find the salvation of the thought that will free you up, then you will realize that nobody is going to save you. Nobody can truly set you free, but also nobody can hurt you, and nobody can victimize you. Nobody can make you suffer. So it's just like really a total kind of shift of direction. You can see that. And I always feel like, in a way, A Course in Miracles for me is truly just about practice, because I realized every year, I go back to the same lesson, because that is the best thought, I think, the most valuable thought that I could hold on to start the day with. And every year it seems like you go back to the same thought, but they're never the same. They always pointing to a deeper realization, because they're through the practical application in our days, we start to open up to the reality of the thought. And I feel that it's the same when we realize that the salvation comes from ourselves. That is a total change of the idea of getting, because the reason we really want to get anything from the world, from medicines, from even the intangible things, is because we think we don't have it in us. And it is outside in some way. So that's where we keep looking, and we keep looking And what I have found is that there is a lot of pain associated with getting. And the trick is that the ego doesn't want us to believe the pain comes from the desire to get. So that is the trick. The pain is associated to everything else. The pain is associated to the situation being not ideal. The people does not fulfill the expectation I gave them, or myself does not fulfill the expectation I give. Or, it's like you can name it, any kind of things. But ultimately, over the years, I really discovered the pain comes no matter what the thoughts from the past have taught me to believe, which is the pain comes from those external situations and people. Ultimately, the pain comes from desire to get salvation from outside. And then it become a very a drastic turn in mind. It almost felt to me like a baby start to learn to walk all over again, because the muscles that I used to rely on, the crutches I rely on, suddenly felt they're never gonna get anything, really. Maybe a temporary relief, but it's to just believe that they offered anything to me is crippling. That belief become to be crippling, and I could see no real freedom anywhere in that. So it takes like a determination inside for me to feel like I'm gonna learn to walk all over again with muscles that feel so weak and I can't really hold myself together. But that is how it felt to actually start to pull this from within the mind, all this, like Jesus described the ego thoughts as cloud, all this cloud that just like is swirling around the mind, and determined to not really be distracted by them, but keep going inside and find something to lift me up. And once I'm determined to go there, I realized that's the first step to go towards healing and towards giving. Because once you find that idea and that thought, it is the giving part, the action part is involuntary. The action part is almost like it's not something you determine to do in action. Truly, the attitude comes first from you find the source of giving, you find the source of that freedom and that salvation in the mind, by really turning away from this dark cloud of thoughts. And then once I found that, normally it can be a thought or a little prompt that doesn't even necessarily make sense to say, see it this way, but it's just a prompt of go talk to this person. But in that, because it came from that place, so it carries the quality to gladden me, to kind of lit up my mind and shine away the cloud. And suddenly this giving force comes through too. And in that is just, we become this beacon of giving. And so I truly feel that that's how I learned what spirit is. The spirit is the spirit of giving. And the motive of getting is coming from the ego, and it's coming from a lack and a pain. So so I just, I totally feel what you're saying, that there might be contraction, because I experienced that when I first got on this journey, and I heard about the idea of giving and serving, and it was very much limited to action and limited to the box that I give it to it, and it just feel scary to me. Or I don't know how giving can really is liberating or joyful to me, because it feels so scary, because the giving is totally associated with loss and having less. So so I kind of like started to see how when we bring down an idea like that, an idea of giving down to an action, that always put it into the ego's realm and always generate fear in some way. So
thank you. Yeah. Yeah, you've made a couple of references there to that you were seeing the connection with, like there was always like a pain associated when there was an attempt to get, and something you said too, it kind of reminds me of, I think it's the very first, there's a section in A Course in Miracles where he talks about, I think they're called the lessons of love, or the Holy Spirit's lessons, and there's only 3 of them, and the first one actually it's totally about giving. It's like it says to have, give all to all, and he I don't think he uses the word pain in there, but when you were describing that, it reminded me of some of the ideas he has in that first lesson and the second lesson as well, where he talks about, I think he says something like this first lesson is often, seemingly the most difficult, because it's a different direction. It's going a completely different direction to the thought system that we've normally been going into, which has been, we talk about getting, it has been about, a fundamental or a core idea of lack. So if that, even if that's not conscious, it's like this idea of just automatically trying to accumulate things, but he's talking about how we need to change the direction of our thinking so that it becomes more of one of giving, not of getting. And he said it does, I think he uses words like, confusion and disorientating and these kind of things. And even that we can be on this lesson for quite a period of time. So I kind of, I think I just wanted to see if there was anything else you had to say around the association with this discomfort or the pain. And I know possibly I'm talking about you making reference to something that may have been some time ago, but is there a sort of a practical thing that you can share that maybe you started to even see when you were aware of this sort of, discomfort or this pain? It was like, rather than going down the same, automatic pilot, like this means I need to, whatever, I need to save more, or I need to find somebody to give me something, or rather that it was almost like catapulting you into something deeper where you go, okay, wait, here's an opportunity for me to go the other direction and actually give. I don't know, does that question kind of make sense?
Yeah. I mean, yes, Jesus talked about that lesson. That was a very startling lesson when I first pick up the course, and I love reading that, and I love reading it over and over again, because out of the 3 lessons, I remember he said something, this is the only lesson that you really need to do almost like on your own, and the other 2 lessons kind of it's going to be automatic once you get the first lesson. And he even said the first lesson, to have, give all to all, even that you don't have to do the whole thing on your own. You just have to start on your own. That means you have to desire to change that direction. That almost like is of your own choice and desire to choose that direction. And once you actually made that step yourself, he will come in and offer his mighty help. So in that way, even the 3 lessons of the Holy Spirit that he wants us to learn, it's not up to us to learn it, nor make up opportunities to learn it. It's all under his help. But the part that really is required, so to speak, is that we're willing to put aside this kind of thinking that I'm lack, I need to get more. We need to put aside that in order to be given a whole set of way of operating. And I do feel that was something I kind of practice more consciously after started to live A Course in Miracles for a while. Even though I have made some steps in form to go towards a life of, no possession and total devotion, it is still not really complete. The lessons is so deep. It doesn't really mean that just by giving something away, renounce the world and you're free from the world. It's actually far from it. But regardless, for me, because that was a very guided step, so it kind of pushed me to be a little bit less distracted so that I can be more focused on the lesson going forward. That's how I felt about it. And then what I started to realize was at the beginning of my journey, I was really, really held in every way that I felt I didn't really need to know what I was doing. I was given my day, through the people who were a little further ahead of me in the community. They came before me. They will guide me into the task, the function, the collaboration, the team. And even I was given this, spaciousness to express the darkness, the emotions, the tears, whenever I want, one-on-one or in a group. So it was I felt like I was carried. And after many, many years, there was a turning point that I realized it didn't really have the same impact anymore for me to go through the emotional pain by asking people to hold space for me or ask them to tell me what they think, help me to look at it differently. Something in that it's still happening, like it was still happening in form, just happened spontaneous. But when I think that is going to offer me anything, something started to not giving the same result anymore. And I realized the only thing that I could do is, in the midst of self-pity and feeling bad about myself and thinking about myself, what is I'm here to do? I am so unworthy. Look at how I'm treated. Oh, I'm never loved. All of those thoughts. But in the midst of it, the only thing that works for me at some point was I need to say to the Spirit, maybe I have something to give. Please provide something for me to give. And that is the way that I immediately would be given the opportunities. Someone would call me asking for counseling. Someone would ask me for a project, or suddenly something even seemingly went wrong. If I was traveling, with David in the earlier years, suddenly our luggage got lost. And I was pulled into a swirl of helping and giving and organizing and communicating. And so that was like, it caught my attention. It really caught my attention that something works consistently. But still, I felt very reluctant to choose it of my own. I feel so reliant on the ones I love, and the ones I trust, and on the, I don't know, like just, that's what I meant earlier when I said it felt like a baby learning to walk again. It's like you have to pull yourself together to learn, to ask, how can I give even in this? Because ultimately everything is truly a question that I don't know who I am, and I feel terrible about who I am. And I'm projecting to everybody and everything because of this self-hatred, how they're not doing what they're supposed to do, how I feel jealous, I feel competition, I feel betrayal, I feel unworthy. It's all ultimately healed when I start to say, okay, Spirit, show me the way that I can offer some help to others. And that was over and over again. In the end, it's totally up to me whether I want to ask and how long it took me to ask for that, or just stay in the in the darkness. So yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like that analogy of a little baby learning to walk. Feels kind of, there's sort of like there's an innocence about that, rather, because the ego's always got its own version, like, you stupid, you should be further along, it's like, it's always quite harsh. And it had a few things to say to me this morning when I woke up. Like I in the lead up days to this, to the idea of this joining, there were various ideas, inspirations, reading different, look at this, and this morning when I woke up, I felt really blank. And I kind of felt like the ego was very quick to want to fill that blank up with lots of ideas about, this is not going to go well. You need to get some ideas quick, smart, or you're going to look like an idiot here. So I was like, all right, okay, thanks for sharing. And then just, what's the Spirit got to say here, and it was really lovely to, David sometimes talks about flicking the little toggle switch, or, just, okay, so the ego's had its say. So what has the Spirit got to say? And the main thing I felt like, it was like, okay, because the other thing you reminded me of was, it was kind of quick to say, you're doing a talk I'm giving and you've got nothing to give right now. So I was like, okay, so let me just see what the Spirit has to say. And of course, it was like, it wasn't how I thought it was going to look like, but it was almost like my choice was I wanted to be in this really high, but it was like, okay, well, this must be the best thing right now, that I can really stop and throw away. All my plans are gone and my mind's just blank, So, and, we talk a lot about trust. Well, here's a good opportunity to be still and trust. And I feel like one thing that's really helped massively just this morning for me was this relationship and this, this trust that I have in you, and this symbol that you represent in my mind of actually, I feel like it's almost like it doesn't even matter what, even, okay, so I'm blank, or I say something that, the ego is going to judge as not the right. It's like, I feel really, somehow that just feels really helpful in my mind. Very, very, enormously helpful. So,
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Over the years, I would talk publicly, using words a lot. But at some point, Jesus was saying, what you're teaching has nothing to do with words. Sometimes it correlates. So what you're saying in words might match what you're really teaching, but a lot of times it's not. So what you're really teaching is what you're learning, what you're practicing. So that's where I started to think, well, if I need to teach trust, I need to trust. I need to walk on that stage with absolute trust in my mind, absolute trust that Jesus would speak and only Jesus would offer anything that is valuable. And I'm there to have peace. So that is what I'm teaching, and nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. So I feel that what you're saying is exactly that. Just what is held in our mind is what we're teaching our own mind. Mm. And that inevitably, Jesus says, everything you say and do teaches the whole universe, because it teaches your own mind who you are. So I just don't underestimate every time we show up in anything with total trust, and knowing that is what we're learning, and knowing that is exactly what we're extending and teaching, without have to worry about anything in form. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. The idea of again, this idea somewhere like giving, and like the idea of practical idea, the idea of money, and this kind of idea is coming into my mind now, and I can feel like something I want to share and even ask around. I feel like there's probably been a few times in my life, so even just in this last decade, where like my bank account has basically looked like there's nothing there, you know. And even it's funny, even the idea, like actually when I returned from, I was in Cambodia like about 18 months ago doing some English teaching, and I actually came back and I had minus money. I had a debt. It was like the first time in my life I had a debt. And which is kind of like, how do you put your head around it? I was like, how much? Well, I've got minus, I've got less than none, you know, like, and somewhere I can feel how some of these occasions have they have been ways of helping me to see that every one of those times, like I've never once been homeless. I've never actually not been given what I need. You know what I mean? Like, it's like if I really look at it, go, well, actually, I've always been taken care of, you know. And yet, I still want to say that I was kind of surprisingly at the end of the last financial year in Australia, I was kind of gifted this sum of money that just from the government, which is like, oh my God, it kind of was the first time in quite a period of time where these funds were released. They weren't going to be available normally until like 2030, and suddenly it's like, because of COVID, we're going to give you this. Like, wow, you know, it was like, wow, thank you. And yet, you know, Francis, I've noticed that there's still like I still don't feel really free around. I still notice this tightness sometimes around, you know, when I go out, it's like I look at, you know, the price of things. And so I still can feel this kind of association with, I guess it's like somehow there's still some loss association with, you know, when I give, or sometimes like you know, it happens occasionally on the streets here in Mexico. Someone will come and, you know, and ask for money. You know, it's like sometimes you know, Jesus says the ego always speaks first. It's always like, you know, it's almost like the first thought is like, get away. You know, it's like, okay, all right, okay, well, what you know, what do I have enough presence just to like, okay, what would the Spirit have me do? You know, here. And so I'm kind of sharing that, and I also leading. The other thing that it's something that I don't think I'll ever forget. Something that I heard you share years ago. I was part of the Living Miracles community in Hawaii at what they called the Extension Center, and there was a small group of us there, and you came along. It was fairly spontaneous. I think we only heard an hour or so before you came along and gave this talk, and And one of the things, I think it was only fairly a short time prior that you had, my understanding was that you'd basically given or donated like all of your assets. You said, yeah, you gave it all to, I guess to Living Miracles, or, I remember your words. You said, I could feel this behind you. You said, I never could have believed that I could receive so much after giving so little. That's what it was like, oh my God. Like, it was kind of like, and that was exactly, to me, it was like a demonstration of what Jesus touches on a lot in, like, I'm thinking of like lesson 133, where he says, I will not value the valuelessness. I will not value the valueless. And he says, he said, here's the test of whether something's valuable. Will it last forever? He's like, if it doesn't last forever, it is of no value at all. Like, oh my God, that covers everything here. There's nothing, it's like, and just when I heard and felt you say that, it was like, wow, you were literally, I could feel you tapped into this feeling of receiving everything and having given so little. And yet it was like, I was aware, I don't know the finer details, and I'm not asking that, but I was aware that you owned a property in Sydney, and I've lived there. I was like Sydney houses, it was like, wow, you'd sold this house and you'd given all these kind of assets. So I was wondering, I don't know if you even remember that time, and it doesn't matter if you don't, but it's kind of like, I wonder if you could just share a little around that kind of idea about really, because that for me, that still feels a little, there's something a little radical or something, and a little like, okay, and obviously it's about not trying to mimic or copy what someone else is doing. It's actually about really honoring what the guidance is at any time, because we're never asked to do what's beyond, so I just wondered if you could just share some things around that. And even I'd love to hear really around that, that experience. Has that been an ongoing experience of this feeling of like, yeah, like, it's having everything in a true way, whereas maybe not having so many things like in form that you may have some years prior, having all these, having a home and the business and all these kind of things. So yeah, there's a lot of words, but yeah, just...
Yeah, I do recall that when I was kind of establishing my life in China and also in Sydney, it was in a way that materialistically it was going pretty well, but deep down the fear was that I need to look after myself, and what is enough? What is enough so that I can truly take care of myself? It's such a fearful thought, because it's never enough. Never enough. I had one house and I bought another just for investment purposes, just for in case. And it was like, you look at the stock market all the time, it feels so fearful, no matter how much the money grows. And because there is always this idea in my mind that one day it might change, even just that possibility that it might be lost, or it might lose value in the stock market. The house price might go up or down. Just something in that realm have this possibility of loss. And that possibility, combined with the belief that I'm looking after myself and I have to make it work, just brought me tremendous amount of fear and pressure. So I was living in a lot of fear. And then when truly that guidance came, I gave all my assets with so much joy. I didn't have fear in that period when I was actually giving. I never had fear, and never had fear ever since.
Wow.
Not ever a single moment of looking back and thinking, what have I done? Somehow that was shocking to me as well. I wouldn't have foreseen that would be the kind of state of mind that I would type into. But I felt like what happened for me was a total letting go of not just the actual money, but it's this surrender to the point to say, okay, I have tried to look after myself, and I think I have established things to a certain degree, and it was so frightening to me. So now I am not gonna dependent on myself anymore, and it's all on you, God. And let's see. For in my mind, I really didn't know what to expect, but I had such a wonderment in that moment of thinking, let's see how this is gonna go. I have absolutely no idea how it's gonna go. But yes, when I talk about receiving so much, it's not just the opportunities and the life that I was given, in terms of physical, material kind of things that I was given, but it was the doorway that I entered into a way of living that you don't have to think you're looking after yourself anymore. And I truly see the different degree of it, because after that period, I think in our community, we were going through different phases where there was a period where we were guided to do that. Very small group of us were guided to do that. Then we were guided to receive salaries. And that was so much controversy, because nobody wants to receive salaries. Everybody's like, no, that's not what we're about. We give everything away. We don't want to receive salary. What is this? It was going backwards. And also, but I don't know whether that was attached to a self-concept of being so spiritual or being on this total path of devotion that receiving money suddenly doesn't match the image. But so we have to let that image go. Okay, we receive salaries. And so the very small amount, like first started $200 a month, and then we could use that for different things just to ease the admin for the whole community. But then it was taken away again. So it was just different phases of the washing away of truly a self-concept, the self-concept of I'm this individual person that's so separated from the rest of the world, from God. I need to look after myself. I am responsible to make myself a certain way. And then the self-concept of I am spiritual, or it has to look this way. No, you just, it was, that's why nobody can truly plan how this journey look like, because it surprised every single turn. But every single thing that was guided by the Spirit worked wonderfully in washing away the self-concept. That's truly what was done. All the self-concept of who I thought I was, who I thought I became, is not it at all.
Wow, that's so cool. It's like talking about like a reversal of, like just tracking with what you're saying there. It's like there's a small group that, have been guided to handle the assets over. And then when it was offered to here, you need to, no, we don't, it's almost like the complete opposite. Like normally the mind is like believing, okay, that reciprocity, I'm working and I earn money, and that it's being offered, and you're actually saying, but I like what you're saying too. That's like, even that was like used to wash, what is this really about? What is this idea of saying, no, I don't want the money? It's like, washing the deeper, what's underneath is like this idea of I'm a spiritual person, and I don't earn money. And I've noticed that same thought in my mind with this job for me that dropped in about 18 months ago. It's been so helpful in so many ways, and it's been such a way of talking about giving, a way of just giving and connecting with so many people from around the world. And no planning. I wouldn't even know who's going to call, what age group, there is still that idea that's being washed. I noticed when I started this job, I literally for the first few weeks, I was like, oh my God, I would do this for nothing. I don't care. It's like, it was so helpful in terms of just this outlet for me sharing my heart and my love, And more recently, I feel like there've been deeper lessons in just being really prayerful. Am I just in automatic pilot with this? Am I doing this to pay the rent? Or am I doing this because it's really given and really inspired for me to do that right now? And, I feel really grateful that it's unlike any other job I've had, in that there's actually no set structure. I can work when I want, where I want. I don't have to say, okay, I do 9 to 5 today, or, and so I feel like it's like just continually being in prayer about, because there've been a few times where I thought, oh, maybe this is done. Like a whole month would go by, and I was like, I wake up, was like, no, not today, not to do it. And then like, wow, I haven't done it, and then I would make a story up with that. This must mean that I'm not, and it's like suddenly Jesus like, okay, this morning, now you're going to like, oh. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like one of the themes for today too is around, it's just like being emptied out and not getting comfortable with like, oh, I know what I'm to do now. I work these number of hours, these number of mornings, and suddenly like the rug's pulled under. It's like, no, you're not going to work this week at all. This is what I want you to do. And yeah.
Yeah, I think if we truly have in mind that the goal, then the pathway is going to be kind of very clear to us. And I always feel like the only reason we have confusion about what to do is always because we have confusion about the end goal. So it's like, always ask, what is this that I want? What is the experience I want in my mind? And I feel if out of every situation, my mind just want to have peace, and that is the one goal, then I would have peace. It's not that mysterious, but the confusion is kind of underneath the surface choice of actions and things to do. Underneath is what am I choosing in terms of goals? Do I choose, of course, ultimately is, do I choose to be God's son and accept my identity for being just here to radiate for the rest of the world the message of him in my mind and feel completely filled up? Do I choose to be that, or do I choose to be something else? But this is so hidden, so then we get caught up at the surface level of what to do. And then when we at that level, it's always about how to have more, so that I can feel good. I can feel good about myself, can feel good about where I'm at right now. So yeah, I just hear you. In the end, it's just, that's why we're together. Doesn't really matter the kind of life we have, the jobs we have, and which country we live in. This is where it unites us. If we want peace, we know there is a path to peace.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, and you've just reminded me, thank you, of I think we had a call a few weeks ago. I don't know, it's like something in that call. And then I think it was later that night, I felt really inspired to watch a video that you'd done. It was a talk from some years ago, and you said this thing, which was kind of almost like a little throwaway line that I was like, my mind just, it was almost like, that's why I listened to that talk. And you said you made reference to the rules for decision. And so that, I think it's chapter 30 titled The New Beginning. And in what Jesus calls the rules for decision, where he's outlining these steps, basically they're like, this instruction manual for how to be happy. And you said something like, I don't know why everyone doesn't do this. It was kind of like this really sweet, like, it's like, this is how to be happy, and I noticed initially, again, that idea of like the ego always kind of speaks first. It was like, I've tried that like 7-8 times, probably at least, between like the year 2000 and the year 2017. I think and then there'd always be this point, whatever, fear, resistance, of like, after a couple of weeks was like, somehow something would happen and I would kind of just put it aside. But I could feel enough of a spark to go, I actually feel really good about reading this, and it feels like it has for much of these last few weeks. It's something brand new. And you reminded me of it when you just said the simplicity of, just that, having that one goal, and that having one goal of peace, or, and that's really what the rules for decision is, just this really simple idea where he says, you start your day, just think about the kind of day you want to have, and then the first statement, or the first, if you like, rule is, today I will make no decisions by myself. And then if I make, I think number 2, if I make no decisions by myself, this is the day that he's saying, take a quiet moment, think about the day, what would you like to have to happen? If I make no decisions by myself, this is the day that will be given me. And that is so simple. That is so simple. But I feel like when I just reread, there's such a gentleness with the instructions. There's such a he just totally knows my mind. You look at the next page and you go, now, there's going to be times when you've already decided first. So it's like, here's what you do if that happens. And then the step 3 is, I have no question. I forgot what to decide. It like automatically brings the mind back to, oh, that's right. I need to just have the one goal, because if I've got lots, okay, how do I pay the rent? How much work? Who do I, it's like, if I've got like 17 goals going on in my mind, it's quite chaotic. If it's just one, okay, bring me back. I just want to be peaceful. I want happiness. If I make no decisions and be still and open my mind to receiving the guidance from the Spirit. And I maybe I'll just touch on 2, because there's another page or 2 where he does. He's almost like he has a little bit of a sense of humor with us too. And there's a theme that we talked about. I think it might have been a talk we did last year. I loved what you said of like he brings in this idea of like something. I think he says something like, look, if you're so unwilling to let your question go, can you at least admit, because this is by the time you kind of like, you're not feeling too good. You're like, can you at least admit you don't like how you feel? And you go, yeah, okay, yeah, I can do that. And then he says, well, so the next obvious step is, so can you see that you would be better off if you were wrong about, and that reminds me of a theme that you addressed in one of our other talks, where you said it was like this slightly different take on this too, where you were saying often your prayer would be, I want to be wrong, I really love that, because it's not, suddenly there's no resistance to the guidance. I'm actually working with the Spirit rather than fighting. It's actually, I want to be wrong about the way that I'm seeing this, that this is frightening, or that I'm lacking, or that I'm, and so I think the final question is, perhaps there is another way, the prayer, perhaps there is another way of looking at this. I need a miracle. Help me see this differently. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think I mentioned in one of the online retreat recently as well. Actually, Jesus, I think he was talking about the conditions for peace, and it was so all-encompassing. It's basically describing a state of mind that once you have peace, not only you have dissolve all fear of any kind whatsoever, but everybody who thinks of you and meets you will be experience the same. And that is like, wow, I just think of Jesus. Of course, when we think of Jesus, but it's a state of mind that is so universal, that's way beyond individual. I have peace, I can extend it to you. That is like, no, peace is in the mind. And he said, you don't need to worry about how to achieve a goal that fast. You only need to, your part is only to decide not to decide. Mm-hmm. And I like that a lot, because I feel that is one thing that you actually can remind yourself of over and over again. You don't have to be right. You don't have to come up with the right answer to do the right thing. You just need to decide not to decide. And that is a constant reminder to yourself. Because every time when we tap into the decision, we always tap into the past. We always tap into the past. We always tap into the ego. And it's always about getting. Because the ego is the idea of lack. The ego is the idea of, of guilt and fear. So that's why he is basically saying, I can get you to be oriented into the mind and the thinking of the spirit. If you don't interfere with it, if you don't keep deciding on your own, or look at the situation from the ego's lens. So that, if you're thinking that is the only work that is required, it's not really much that is asked of us. And also for me, I think over the years, I started to feel, because at the beginning, the ego definitely came in with the course, to study the course together. And then even about forgiveness, or I need to forgive, then I feel I need to come up with the new way of looking at it. So I keep, maybe I should look at it this way, or maybe I should like this way, or maybe this is what's going on. But I try so hard to come up with the spirit's perspective. And why is that? Because the ego is terrified of this silence.
Right.
And then gradually I learned that if I don't come up with something, maybe there is a moment of silence, a moment of void. The ego is terrified of that. And yet I could really feel, wow, I don't know what is a new way of looking at it. That's why I kept falling for the same ego trap, because I don't have a way to look at it with the spirit yet. So I am here to learn. And that gives me a lot of motive to feel the only reason I don't have, haven't have it already sorted is because I am here to learn. And I can be excited about staying in this I don't know mind, knowing the spirit is going to give me a perspective I've never had, I never knew, and I've never really embraced. And that somehow gives me a lot of motivation to say to the ego, no, not you, not this, not the past, but let me just wait for the spirit to come in. Mm-hmm. So.
Thank you. I was hearing a little tune in my mind at the first part of the sharing there. I'm pretty sure it was your partner JP and possibly our friend Helena that probably wrote that song. You know, it's, you said you love those words like decide, you know, decide not to decide, and that the song decide for me, say to the Holy Spirit, decide for me. I'm pretty sure I can pictured a video with JP and Helena singing
I love that song.
Thank you, Francis. Yeah, it feels like it might be a really good time to say hi to our friends and see if we have any digital hands. If anyone feels good to you, Francis.
Yes, that would be perfect.
Julie, you can go ahead. Hi, Julie. You can go ahead and unmute.
Hi.
Hi, Julie.
I'm so happy to have gotten your email to invite to this, and I had forgotten, and I came in to read some text and saw it and immediately came in, and whoa, what you were talking about was just blowing my mind, because it's exactly what I needed. Funny thing how Spirit does that. So I'm right in the middle of an ego event that's a very old guilt, unworthy, I have to be dependable, all these concepts that I'm real aware that Spirit's trying to help me let go of. It feels like a really big one. And when you said, you know, talk about the bombs that just hit you right, when you said, maybe I have something to give, it just totally blew my mind. And now ego is like total freak out. So anyhow, I mostly just want to say thank you, because there's so much that you both have been talking about that is just like firing in so many cylinders. And I created 4 weeks of hermitage at my house. I'm back in my house in New Mexico after being at La Casa for 5 weeks. And I could really feel that I needed to come and have this quiet time, and just with peace is my goal, and let the obstacles come up. And I've had an amazing week, and I had like a week of crying, which is really hard for me to do. And I just have been telling everybody who would listen, you know, that I just kind of exposing that I'm trying to cry, and, you know, and then after that, a couple of days of fear, and then seeing all of that happen. And then I realized that I was waiting for myself to feel worthy of giving before I could start giving. And then I kept hearing, you know, to learn peace, teach peace. And so the last couple of days, I've kind of been in the middle of that. And then when you said that, maybe I have something to give in relation to this ego event, it's just like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's just huge. And thank you, thank you, thank you. So, and I so appreciate this group. You know, I haven't seen much or been involved much. I don't know if I've missed things, but I wanted to, and it's nice to see you, Susanna, and appreciate you and Colin. So anyhow, love you all, and thank you so much. I'm just so excited for this day to just let all of this bubble up and have its effect. And
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Julie. Yeah, I just feel like, you know, I have experienced that kind of just you go through some phase, and then after that there's like a crack open or something, then all these emotions come up. You don't even know where it comes from. Like there's no specific reason. It just needs to flow out and have a big release. And yet in that, something's gonna show up. Either is a deeper realization, deeper determination, or a new direction. I always find that to be the case for me. And even though this whole journey is about healing the darkness, and yet to let them be when they need to come up is essential. It's absolutely essential. When, you know, there was a time when Colin mentioned we had a community in Hawaii. We went there, I think in 2012, July 2012, when we started. And oh my goodness, the kind of darkness that rise up in everybody. It was like a volcano for everybody, and nobody was stable all around. It was like, and then after I think a year, when we started to move back to Utah, and then someone said, you know, this place, the big island of Hawaii, we have a live volcano, which is very, very active. The reason that we actually had to sell that house was because the volcano came and washed the road. So it's and the live volcano is there. With that is there is energy called Pele, which is the goddess of something that the local believe in. They said nobody can come here and stay 6 months without being spit out, because that's where the what happens is like you got spit out of the island. And I was thinking, wow, that is exactly what Hawaii served as our community at the time. 2012 was somehow everybody was going through a total rinse and emotional wash, and then came back feeling, okay, what was that? So I just want to kind of encourage and just, kind of say how important it is sometimes to give us that time to emote, to cry, and to be very, very gentle, knowing it's just a layer getting washed off, and it's very essential. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Jen. That's really beautiful. Okay. Next we have Esther. You can unmute yourself there, Esther. Hi.
Thank you, guys. Hi.
Hi, Esther.
The pressure I feel and the problem that seems to be it's responding to is the need to make money for my mom, because my uncle is in the hospital now and may not be able to provide immediate funds if we needed it. And I've had to spend money. And my friend Alan and I are trying to work with the stocks and Bitcoin and stuff like that. And when I look at the charts, it's like there's this wall of fear, and I just can't see anything. But when I sit with him, then he explains stuff, and then I see what he's saying, and I have my own insights. And it just seems like I don't know what the path is to invest for long term, which doesn't seem that we know anything about that, because the movements go up and down, and yet we see potential in certain stocks so we decided kind of to just invest, like we haven't done anything yet, but like to invest a certain amount in small priced stocks that are related to Bitcoin to anyway, I'm sorry. The thing is the uncomfortability of not knowing what to do when that's the and how would I know that that's the guidance? Because yeah, that's the question. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Esther. I just have in mind when you were talking that, you know, the reason that we were all here in this seeming Zoom room is because we said yes to Jesus, and we have established many self-concepts in the world, be a mother, be a daughter, be a girlfriend, boyfriend, worker, investor, and all that. And then when we said yes to Jesus, really, I felt he said, I'm going to give you this one self-concept underneath all self-concept that you're going to continue to say yes to and switch over. And this one self-concept is miracle workers. So this is what I want you to do in any situations is you're going to let me perform miracles for you and for everybody that you reach. That is the self-concept. If you work with me, if you're my students, that's our collaboration. And of course, the ego doesn't know what it means. It's gonna continue to think, I am this, I am this. They have a self-defined role and self-defined image of everything. But this is what I would think we are all called to do, which is to teach something that is so beyond this world, to teach peace in the seeming situations, in every specific situation. So teach peace so that we can learn what peace is and what spirit is and what we are. And I just remember there was one situation when my mom called me at some point when I let go of my possession, and then after a few years I was given a salary, and I told her, and she called. She was very angry. I was like, how much were you given? I was like, a few hundred dollars. Do they take care of you? Do they buy you clothes? They do you get this? Do you get this? Do you get this? Is a question. And at first I was like, yeah, I have enough clothes. Yeah, I have. It was like an answer, and then something completely took over me without me even realizing. My voice got really loud somehow, and basically just it beamed over me and said, I'm not here to learn whether I can be taken care of by money. I have given away so much. I'm not saving or trying to look into this tiny bit of whether I can have enough. What I'm here is to learn that I'm under no laws but God. And I'm here to learn that I'm completely sustained by the love of God. And that's who I am, and that's what I have to offer. And everything that I'm guided to is given me. And just like completely beaming out of me without me thinking about it. And after that, my mom just went really quiet. And I thought, this is not something she could hear or would want to hear. But to my surprise, she was silent for a long time. Then she said, teach me. And for me, it was just a witness to see that this is really what Jesus wants us to do. Live in demonstration so that, first of all, we learn that we are completely taken care of. And second of all, we completely bring this to everything we do and everything we touch. And there are brothers who would reach the same peace because we have claimed it. And so I would say that, Esther, either you're looking at the screen of Bitcoin, or you're talking to your mother, or discussing the fees for the hospital about your uncle. Really, you're there as a miracle worker. You're there to let the spirit and Jesus speak through you for a message that was called for in that moment. When your mother seemingly asking a service question, when you are seemingly discussing something, there is a deeper call, and you're there to wait for the spirit to come through, so that you know, in that moment, the call can be truly answered. That's how you feel very fulfilled. No matter the Bitcoin goes up and down, no matter what you do, that you will feel the fulfillment when you fulfill that miracle worker function. So. You can unmute.
Yeah. Do you want to unmute yourself there, Esther?
Just was real quick. You said that I'm here to be sustained by the love of God, and there was something you said that before that I wanted to have in my mind also. Do you remember what it was? You said
not really.
Okay. It's one idea is good. Thank you very, very much. Really great.
Yeah.
Really great. Thank you.
Love you.
Thank you, Esther. But she also said that you're a miracle worker, and there was one thought I just felt to offer too, Esther. I remember reading this some years ago. I forget the lesson. It may have been lesson 77 or 78, where Jesus says something around miracles, where he says, like, in every situation, the miracle is always there. It's already there. It's not like, I used to think more like, so this kind of linear way of looking is like where I do my bit and then the miracle's already there. It only requires me to be willing, as you're so willing, Esther, to relinquish my way of looking, and then the miracle just appears. It was always there. So yeah, just as a follow-up to Francis, you know, and yeah, exactly what you're saying, you're a miracle worker, and that's what you're there to, you know, to bless your mom and to, you know, Alan and these other ones that are given you. So thank you so much for your willingness. Oh, beautiful. Let's see, who have we got here? Delia, you can unmute, please.
Hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's my first time.
Welcome.
I wasn't planning to come, but I was guided yesterday that I should be here. So I'm so happy to see all of you. I just wanted to say, Francis, when you're talking about having fear of taking care about yourself, buying one house and then another house, I felt like it was like you were feeding your fear, because even 10 houses would be not enough for such kind of fear, right? And I realized when you said, when you gave up everything, I realized, wow, she just gave up her fear. It was just like light bulb, like amazing. Just, it looks like treasure, but in reality, you just gave up your fear and become free.
Yes.
So it's so amazing realization. And one more thing I wanted to share. Yesterday, when I was guided to sign up for this event, a joy of giving, this question started playing in my mind all the day. Who is giving? Who is receiving? It was just like game all the day. Who is giving? Who is receiving? And I asked Spirit, what do you mean? Who is giving? Who is receiving? And he reminded me about one event from my childhood. I think I was 15 years old. We were very, very poor family. We only had one nice meal an evening, and all day long was just piece of bread or something. And I do remember it was lunchtime, and my little brother, he was 7 years old. He was having his portion of bread, but he was so hungry. He was eating like this. And I was holding my piece of portion, because it was noon, piece of bread, and next meal will be only at 6 p.m. And I do remember I was holding my piece of bread, but when I saw him so hungry, I just felt such compassion. I just came to him and gave him my bread and just went away. But only yesterday I realized I didn't experience any hunger myself. That was amazing. And I realized yesterday who is giving, who is receiving, which is so. And only yesterday I realized giving and receiving the same, but just, so I was 15 back then, now I'm 55. It's like after 40 years, I realized by giving him my bread, I didn't experience hunger because it was like feeding myself. So just, it's all I wanted to share.
That's beautiful. That's truly beautiful. And I do feel that that's the experience as well. You know, when we actually giving, we're giving with an attitude, and then it seems like we're giving something with value, but truly then we're receiving in a sense of spiritual fulfillment and that of joy that fills us up. So when I first joined the community, we had a guideline, Awakening Mind Foundation had the guideline. And one of the guidelines is every reward on this journey is purely spiritual. And that kind of like knocked the ego in the head. Oh, I can't get anything in the end. What about a good life? What about abundance? But what you're saying is a very concrete example of how giving and receiving are the same, even though it's not something the physical eye can see and identify, but it's because the truth of our spiritual identity, we receive the spiritual identity and the spiritual reward in that, which is just reinforce all this understanding in the mind and all the miracles and peace. So I feel grateful that you shared a specific example in that way. Feels really relevant.
Thank you, Talia. Beautiful.
You can unmute there, yeah.
Yes, I just wanted to add, you said it so right. When you give something, spirits like replenish. He gives us more. And I do remember giving this bread. I didn't experience any hunger, but also I didn't have any thought in my mind. Oh, I will be hungry now. It's 6 hours until my meal, and I have to ask extra because I gave my bread. No, it's just like I gave and I forgot completely. I just went to do my business. But realization came only yesterday. So it's funny. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julia.
Thank you, Talia. It's beautiful. We got Mary. You can unmute yourself now. Hi, Mary.
Thank you so much. I've been sitting listening to the beautiful questions and feeling like you don't need to say anything, but yeah, they're spirits like, yeah, you do. There's something that's still coming up that I'm feeling. I mean, like, this is Francis. This is an opportunity. I've got to take it, and so, or I want to take it, but yeah, this weekend, I'm asking Spirit because there's so much rumbling around in there. So I'm like, how can I make this concise? But this last weekend with the retreat, starting Friday night, Francis, with your beautiful session, that's when it really struck me, because I've always struggled with give all to all. And David has explained it many times, and it's like, what does give mean and what does all mean? And I know it's got to be in the quantum to get it, because it's just not about form, but it's what feels like, with the sharings, it's each question has really been the same, but in the ego world, it's like, pick your poison. Like, my poison seems to be relationships, and somebody else's poison seems to be money, but it's really always the same answer. And when you responded to, okay, wait, first I want to say that what I got on Friday from you was I really got a hit when you were talking about David's happiness and how much that was what you went towards. And I was like, yeah, me too. That's it. And Spirit has been giving me that's what is mine to give, is happiness. That is my function. If you can give happiness, then that is the giving, because it just feels like that is a forever. It is a receiving at the same time, because if it makes someone else happy, if my happiness is, but it still feels like the true giving is giving to me. So I came back from back to Arkansas. I was in Kansas City for the retreat, and then when I came back, I was just high as a kite. I was just soaring in the beauty of this, the whole weekend, and felt like I was just really quantum. And then I got hit immediately with relationships, and something happened. My son actually told me something my daughter had said about me, and I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. And I was Jake in the elevator. I was just like, oh my God, yeah, okay. I can't. I can't. This is just too much. And I just was like, I wanted to say something, but I was like, okay, I got to go into Spirit, because I just feel so bad now. It's like coming from here to here in a one fell swoop. And then I was mad at my son for bringing all this stuff in. And I was, he's wanting some more spiritual advice. And what do you do about this? And when my daughter said, he was talking about his sister, my daughter said this, and I'm like, this is just not it. But then when you responded to Esther about your experience with your mother, that was so beautiful, because it's like the Spirit came through and said, I'm not here about any of this. I'm here to because I'm under no laws, or to show myself. It's like that I'm under no laws but God's. And that's it. It's receiving that is the gift. But I have to, because what I got yesterday with all this, it just wouldn't leave me. And Spirit was like, okay, you got to just be with this. Just be with it and allow yourself to go quantum, because you were quantum and now you've dipped back down into, and what comes up is, I can't be here. I've got to go into co-living. I got to find my new community, and this is just not going to work. My family is still here, and blah, blah, blah. And I knew that wasn't the solution. It was like, no, you got to sit with this. So I'm seeing it now as an opportunity to release some anger, because I was really angry. I mean, eventually I'm going to tell her this. And, I was really feeling that anger. But I'm really, as I sat with it, and I ended up just giving it to myself all day long, giving myself the opportunity to just be with the pain and be with, and allow it to give me the gift, because I knew there was, this was not about these people. It's just my poison at the moment. It's not about these people. And so I wanted the gift. It's like, I know I got to go quantum to get it, because it's otherwise I'm just Jake in the elevator. And it's like, I want that peace that he had. That's what I'm looking for, because it's not because running away and going to another venue, another place, has just multiplied everything. It's like, that's not ever a solution. So I just wanted to sit with it, be with it, and just allow the pain to come up, be seen, and released. And yeah, when you said that Spirit came through to your mother in response to, because I find myself being defensive with my family. It's like, I got to explain this so they can understand, because they're just scared. They're just upset. What's going on with you? And yeah, it was the clarity of that just came through because you, it's like you stepped back and didn't have to describe to your mother why you were doing these things. You just, Spirit came through and said, I'm here for this reason. And so it was like that self-gift of what is my true goal. And it's like Colin talking about that toggle switch. It's been so helpful. It's like, I gotta go quantum here because the answer is just not in this world. It seems like it's something about the relationship, but it's not. That's what I really got. And so the clarity of I'm under no laws but God's is that's it. I'm like, that's it. That's what I want to go to is. And so, and I guess the question is, how does this even, it's like give all to all doesn't really have any meaning to me. And I wish it did, but I don't know what that means because as a Enneagram 2 personality caregiver and people pleaser all my life, give all to all means something totally different in that world than in the world I'm entering. So I'm like, I want to know what that means in the quantum, not in the form, because I know it's not about giving money or giving defenses or giving care in the old way. But it feels like it's give it to me and then let it flow and something about the happiness. I don't know, but yeah, that's kind of rambling, but I don't know how else to get it all out there.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you so much, Mary. I think you just summarized a lot of the things that we talked about earlier with this practical example. I think give all to all is pointing to a way of thinking that eventually point back that when you actually get into the giving mentality, you start to, how to say it? It's like yesterday's lesson was my grievance hides my light, or I hides the me as the light of the world. So hides that fact from my awareness when I hold a grievance. So this actual fact that I am spirit and I'm the light of the world is completely hidden from the daylight. You can't see it because the grievance masks you as this victim of some sort in the world. So when we get into the giving, that's start to lift the veil to have what can we have? To have what we truly want is to have everything, to have the identity of being the Son of God, to have all the love, all the light, all the comfort, to have that, tap into this mentality to give. And it's quite different than people pleasing, because people pleasing does come from the getting, from I need your approval, I need you to be okay, or I need you to like me. It is actually as exchange. The underlying motive is still getting. But I really like that you point out the relationship as well, because that is where the rubber meets the road in a lot of ways with this idea or the practice of getting and giving. And I feel, I heard David say that many, many times, that relationships are only for giving. And I started to really see that is true. And not only that is true, relationships are given to us to practice over and over again, only to give. And what does that mean to give? It's to certain degrees what you're describing. When seemingly something happens, you don't have understanding, or someone misunderstood you, or there was a conflict, disagreement, whatever, there was a trigger because there was a lack of understanding, lack of agreement, lack of harmony, lack of love, basically. And of course, the ways with the loved ones is very easy to ask for that. Why don't you give this to me? Why can't you understand? Why don't you love me? Why don't you, see from my perspective? But that is where I was describing with Colin earlier. I started to see all the pain, if that shows up in relationships, is the same. The pain is only caused by the desire to get something, even if it is love or understanding from someone. And that every situation, if we see it as a situation to give, or as a situation to extend, exactly that, extend quantum understanding, like you put it, or extend that which we probably haven't even learned ourselves, so we can't even find it in the past learnings, but it's extending something. And to extend that, we have to call upon the spirit to say, come through now, because I am going to extend something. This is the opportunity. And that is truly the point I realized on my journey, where it started to really turn the table. The ego just started to have no room to survive in the mind, because the relationships are such close mirrors. There's unlimited opportunity for you to be upset, or for you to want to get or feel the lack, and this person is responsible to fill my lack, But it also provides an unparalleled opportunity to give and give and give and give and give. So I just remember when I even just started my relationship with JP, he was telling me that that's what he learned from his past relationship. All the learning summed down to one sentence: relationships is purely forgiving. And that's what he is practicing. And he gave me an example where one of his past girlfriends, when they were in a relationship, the girlfriend was going through a lot of nostalgia, or so to speak, wanting to go back to her old boyfriend. And JP was telling me that was presenting an option for him. Either he could feel abandoned or hurt, or he could be a shoulder for the girlfriend to cry on when she misses and want to go back to her ex. So he could be the presence of the spirit for her, to comfort her, saying it's okay, there's nothing to fear, it's okay. And he was telling me that truly strengthened him beyond anything. To actually, there is a sentence in the Course, Jesus says, to that extent, he said, you want to demonstrate to your brother you can never be hurt by him. And to me, when I first read it, it was like, whoa, that is a total turnaround from the ego, because the ego wants to prove I'm hurt by you. Wants to build a case to prove I'm hurt by you. I want to punish you so that you learn the lesson, but the spirit is like, you want to teach your brother or demonstrate to your brother you can never be hurt by him. It's such a high demonstration. And what is the benefit? The benefit is that you started to see you are not that which can be hurt. You claim another identity. And that's truly applied to what you're saying as well. When the daughter of yours or shows up this misunderstanding, you're faced with two options. Either how can you not understand me? I need to explain, I need to make sure, but you're completely caught in that. Or now you're saying, I am going to choose the other way, which is I am claiming to be the miracle worker. I'm going to be here extending the truth and be a living demonstration. I cannot be hurt by anybody's comments because I can extend truth I can extend truth in that. And yeah, I'm so happy you bring up the relationship. It's just bring everything back together. So beautiful.
Thank you, Mary. Looks like we just have one more hand there. Tanya, would you like to unmute?
Yeah. Hello. Hi, Francis. Hi, Colin. Hi, everyone. Thank you for doing these talks. It's really a joy to be together. I had really strong resonance with one phrase specifically that you shared, Francis, before, and it's, I'm not here to learn that I can be sustained by money or anything else in the material. And it just reminded me that we always need to keep in mind that phrase, like that question, what am I here to learn? And then what am I learning from, what am I choosing to learn? And what am I choosing to support and strengthen in my mind? So this Sunday, I had a guidance that came in really clearly and was confirmed by another person as well. And I just was watching it, watching my reaction too. So I felt like my mind is on the goal a lot of the time, and that allowed that guidance to come in. So we have a Course in Miracles group where we are joining in prayer first, and in the prayer I heard, I'll give you more opportunities to share. And in my mind there were question marks, like more opportunities to share. So I was excited. At the same time, I noticed some like kind of a little bit of a hesitance or fear. More, and I asked more opportunities because I feel like there are many opportunities already. Like there are these groups, like different groups that are meeting 3 times. One group is meeting 3 times a week, another one once a week, and there are more opportunities. So I'm excited. But then tell me more about this. So I asked Spirit, can you tell me more? Kind of, I understand now that I was asking for encouragement, or how, like, can I do this, basically, to encourage me or show me that I can. And he said, you'll speak to more people. And he said, these are my words, not yours. So don't think that this is you. Like, it's not you. Don't hesitate, because it's not you, it's my words. And then he said, you are my word. And that really touched me, because it just removed that idea that it's not a personality. I am his word, and I'm also sharing his word. I'm just sharing myself, like from the capital S. And that just removed all this hesitation. I felt so much gratitude for that. And then my friend emailed me after the meeting. She said, when you were sharing that about more opportunities to share, I was about to ask you to speak to our group. They have a group for Casey materials. They're studying the Edgar Cayce's materials. And they have once a week, they have a speaker who speaks on a different topic. So she wants me to speak to their group. And she wanted to ask me before, she wanted me to speak about the Course in Miracles. We discussed what they want and what she was thinking. And we combined the two ideas that I will speak about, the Course in Miracles, and also what's common in the readings of Edgar Cayce, because there are a lot of parallels. And so, and I noticed a change after this. There was a change in my attitude towards one friend, specifically, that I was seeing that she's going through a lot of issues, and I didn't meet with her, so we met, and I felt more inspiration to just be with her, because it doesn't matter if someone is not studying the Course in Miracles or going through some issues. It's more about, like what you were saying, it's about giving. Every relationship is for giving. I can see that there are so many more, like there is an expansion, but the question that I started with, what am I here to learn? I think that's very important. So if I'm here to learn that I'm the word of Spirit, I just want to learn this as my identity, completely leave it, and that's worth it.
That's beautiful. Wow.
Yeah, I'm done. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you. Well, that's yeah, it just feels like reflective of the mind, just expanding. So we've reached the point, Francis, yeah, where we've our wrap up point, and just want to thank you, and just for all the everything, all the sharings, and just feels the whole thing has felt really precious. And yeah, thank you so much, Francis. Just a joy to be with you and be with everyone, and such a gift. Thank you. All right, love you.